and I represent Metrigraphics LLC. I'm here this morning to talk about solving your problems for making miniaturized micro interconnects for the medical device industry. Just a quick agenda. We'll just talk about the problem that we believe you have. We're trying to help you solve some traditional solutions, our solution, a little bit on the process for the engineers in the audience, and some examples, some closing comments. A lot of people are here today at the MDM show because the medical device business is trying to find ways to make things smaller and smaller. You have a component at the end of, let's say, a catheter. You need to connect that to the electrical wiring in order to connect that to the systems at the end. You need to connect components to the circuit itself. It has to be biocompatible for a range of biocompatible issues, and certainly the size for the circuits themselves in the device. We're talking circuit traces and spaces in the 5 to 10 micron size with a small overall form factor. You want insulators and dielectrics between 5 and 25 microns thick, some cases as thick as 125 microns, and you want to be able to handle multiple layers for the complex circuits that you're trying to connect. The traditional flex circuit technology that most of you are familiar with has lines and spaces in the 100 microns. There are certainly what we call TFC, traditional flex circuit manufacturers, who can do smaller than that, but the typical industry is in the 50 to 100 micron lines with dielectrics that are typically laminated, 12.5 microns minimum layer thickness. And it's generally a subtractive or etch process. Chemistry can remain behind. We see undercuts at the trace layers, and the lamination process can often yield problems in delamination in post-processing. But the traditional solution, the etch process, is very cost effective, particularly for extremely high volume solutions, and so it does work for many applications. But when it doesn't work, when you can't get the circuit trace sizes small enough, or when you have greater requirements of biocompatibility, we have what we call the ERMF, or Extreme Resolution Microflex technology. It's based on 3 mature technologies: semiconductor level photolithography in order to image the photoresist material, and 2 ways to add metal to build up the circuit. One is thin metal deposition, which we typically use sputtering to do that. You can see a list of some of the more common materials that we can sputter at our factory. And then we use selective ion beam removal to take away excess material in places that we don't want it. If you want a thicker circuit to carry current, perhaps, in addition to just circuit signal, we use electrochemical deposition, more commonly known as electroplating. We have a variety of materials that we can plate. The dielectric materials, we typically spin the dielectrics ourselves. We use liquid polyimides. We can spin them from anywhere from 3 microns to 25 microns, and currently we actually can spin in steps up to 125 micron thick dielectrics. The materials are declared biocompatible by the manufacturer, and the reason I put that in quotes is we don't usually get to qualify the material. Usually we are a subcomponent manufacturer, so we deliver our device to the end OEM. They'll put it together with the final product and do the final qualification. And they were used from a variety of customers. When you're in the custom business that we're in, almost everything we do is under non-disclosure, so a disadvantage of me giving a presentation today is I can't give you a list of all my customers and examples. The process, at its simplest of forms, we take typically a glass carrier or sometimes silicone or other wafers. We spin coat and cure a polyimide layer. We put down a conductive trace seed layer. We then coat and image a photoresist layer, or we may use a photo-imageable polyimide. We deposit the metal traces for the circuits, and again, depending on how thick it is, we can either sputter that down for a thin layer, or we can plate it down for a thicker layer. Remove the photoresist, remove the seed metal between the traces, and then repeat the steps for the number of desired metal layers that are required there. Some of the circuits require a cover lay, seal this in, or some kind of a coating to make the material impervious to bodily fluids. Just some quick graphics to oversimplify a fairly complicated process. The first layer, we start, as I said, with some form of a substrate, put down a polyimide, a seed layer, put down some photoresist, image it using photolithographic processes. We then metallize that, again, either sputtering a thin layer down, or we can plate if it's a thicker layer. So now you can see this is electroform. This would be a plated process. So you'd have your trace now in between your photoresist. Then we would remove the photoresist, remove the seed layer, and now you would have essentially trace conductors of 5 to 10 microns, typically lines and spaces. If you're an engineer and you're looking for some design parameters, our minimum trace and spaces are typically 0.002 millimeters. We recommend 0.005, typically again 5 to 10 microns to translate that. Aspect ratio, which would be the ratio of the finest feature to the thickest feature, we recommend less than 2. There are exceptions, we can do higher. There are certainly advanced processes that you can get claimed up to 100 to 1 aspect ratios if you want to lend us a synchrotron to do that. Maximum number of conductive layers, 6 at this time. Conductive trace materials, if you can sputter them, you can see chrome, nickel, chromium, titanium, gold, nickel, copper, palladium, and aluminum. And in the electrochemical or plating area, soft gold, hard gold, copper, nickel, cobalt, and platinum. The dielectric materials, spun polyimides, we can also use sheet Kapton, Eupilex, and other materials under special circumstances. And then people want to always ask about, how flexible is the circuit? I have an example here. This is a circuit here, the typical bend radius, in order to ensure no delaminations of the metal trace layers with the polyimide base layer, is about 10 times the total stack layer. And we are not just a contract manufacturer. You don't just send us drawings and we make parts. We work collaboratively with our clients, understand what you're trying to achieve, what the initial circuit layout that you might have, work together to try to adapt your design to our processes or conversely. And we need to look at things like the topography, how do the layers build up, what are your adhesion issues? Some people don't want them on glass. The circuit may need to come off and become a real embeddable flex circuit. And what are your functional and your test requirements for the end item? Here's an example of what one looks like under a photomicroscope. You can see the traces, you can see the vias interconnecting, you can see that there are obviously multiple layers here. This particular circuit has 5 micron lines and spaces at the top area and 10 to 20 micron lines and spaces interconnecting the vias. Some of the applications that people use this process for are sensors and sensor circuits for biochemistry, checking bodily fluids, RF induction coils, multi-layer coils for either transmitting signal or signal and power from outside the body to inside the body. Other kinds of sensors for sensing chemistries. These would be pharmacological chemistries, and then a variety of probes to measure body chemistry, to body temperature, etc. Just some closing comments. The medical microcircuits are now possible with extremely fine features. As I said earlier, typical range 5 to 10 microns. We can do features down to 2 to 3 microns depending on the topography. We can and we do handle R&D, prototypes, pilot production, and production volumes. We're located in Wilmington, Massachusetts. We can work with you and your engineering team to adapt your design requirements to be more compatible with both of our manufacturing processes. We do have a design guide here at the show, at our booth. You can come talk to us. You can go to our website. We welcome your feedback. And I just want to close that we've been in business for 48 years. We were prior owned by a large defense contractor. We've gone private. We have a great many employees who have been here for a very long time, and that is one of the things that we bring to the table, a lot of experience in a lot of different applications. So come visit us at booth 853 today. Again, my name is Randy Sablich, and thanks for attending.